Yeah, for sure.
And tell us, by the way, you know, we do.
I'm in Minnesota. I'm going to be cornering one of my good amateurs, Nick Klein, and then one of our top pro prospects, Alton Cunnigham, on the LFA tonight.
Excellent, man. And are you looking forward to these fights? How do you feel Alton's going to do? How do you think he's going to perform?
Really excited for Alton. It's the first real test at 205 that he has.
Mm-hmm.
He's so explosive. He's so athletic, and he's a big guy, and he's fighting a legit 205er in Eric Murray. I think he's going to do fantastic, but I'm just really excited to see him fight a real light heavyweight and see how he handles it.
Definitely. And then, of course, you said you have an amateur fighter fighting. Is he fighting someone from the same area or a different area?
Nope. I'm not sure where his opponent's from. I know he's 5-1 and really good. I've seen him fight before. So it's a top-level amateur matchup. Nick Klein is my guy. He's 3-0. This other kid's 5-1, and they're both like beastie 185ers for amateurs.
Nice.
So it'll be pretty fun.
Excellent, man. I don't know if you ever heard of this promotion called Elite Amateur Fight League, and it's paying the best against the best in the amateur level, state versus state. It's like a team versus team concept. I'll be at their event next weekend.
Nice. Where's that at?
Chicago. They're doing it in Chicago. But I went to their first ever event, so I like that concept because you get to see, you know, amateurs fight each other, you know, outside of their, you know, comfort zone, outside, you know, where they're from or their area.
Right.
So yeah, this is what we're getting a taste of when we see Nick Klein fight, right? He's gonna take on someone from a different area as well.
Right.
For sure, man. Well, yeah, I want to, you know, remind everybody who you are. Jake Klipp, of course, we've got him. Pura Vida BJJ, MMA, of course, and a lot of different fighters train under you, of course. You know, Zak Ottow, of course, is one of the head coaches there alongside you. Leah Letson, one of the leaders at the gym. Montel Jackson. The list goes on, and you know, I'm excited to get involved with you and talk to you about everything going on. First of all, we got Zak Ottow. He's got the opportunity to fight Dwight Grant, UFC Fight Night MIlwaukee. He said to me, now, that it's better to fight on short notice because it's the fact you're not waiting around for a while thinking about the opponent. He said he welcomes this opportunity to fight on short notice. What do you think? You agree with that?
I think you got to have an optimistic mindset, and Zach is one of those guys that everything is right. The world is always working in our favor. Mm-hmm. So whether we get a full camp, we look at it like optimistically from a full camp perspective, whether it's a shorter notice fight where he doesn't have to like sit with the stress and anxiety for long. Zach's an eternal optimist, just like I am, and everything is right for us. Whether it's a short notice fight, we win. Whether it's a long notice fight, we win. Everything's a win.
Definitely. And how do you see that fight playing out against Dwight Grant? I know he's only got one loss. He's a tough guy. He's had some big knockouts in his career as well. One on Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. You have a big knockout.
Yeah, he's got big power in both hands. So there's it'll be a good, exciting fight. Zach's got a lot more experience. We liked the fight. We saw the original matchup a couple months ago between Grant and Eric Koch, and we liked it. And honestly, Zach was getting ready in case someone pulled out for Milwaukee. So when we got the call, he was in shape. His weight was really low. It's not like he's taking this fight on 2 weeks off the couch. Like,
right.
He was on weight for a fight in Milwaukee just in case somebody fell off. So we like this one.
Yeah, and that's just his mindset. That was his decision, right? No one's pushing him and telling him, oh, you got to be ready. He had no hint or inkling of that happening because it was possible the card would happen without him.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's great for him. He gets on that card, and for him to right the wrongs of the last fight, obviously he had so much going on. I mean, you know, from us on the outside, we only know the half of it, not even the whole story. But you know, he was going under some kind of disease, infection or whatnot, and he had to overcome that to fight. And you know, that was his decision, obviously, to still step into the cage of a dangerous Sage Northcutt.
Yeah, I mean, you wish the world worked out differently sometimes, but it didn't. So we went out there and we lost that fight. That fight's over. Might as well it never happened. As I'm concerned, I want to go win this next one. That's all I'm thinking about.
Definitely. I mean, you know, I talked to Zach recently. He said that, you know, it's not just enough that we're on the stage. We have to expletive win. You know, that's what we got going. And Leah Letson got the ball rolling. Of course, you guys were out there in Vegas for the TUF28 finale. And, of course, her performance. She mentioned also that she was able to hear you guys in her corner. That made the difference this time around from her previous fight on TUF.
Yeah, all of our fighters need something different. And big part of our job is psychology. We've got to figure out who needs a push, who needs to be held back a little bit, reined in a little bit. And Leah likes and performs at her best when she's got a lot of communication with her coaches and her cornermen in a fight. And for whatever reason, she didn't feel like she was getting it out there on the show. And she still went out and still did a good job. And Macy is the girl that won the show, and she did phenomenal. We knew she was really good going in.
Yeah.
But on Leah's UFC fight here against Jujlia, she just felt like she was going in with her best team, best opportunity, best chances to win, because we were all there. Myself, Zak Ottow was there, and then Nick Trost is the other coach that does the most work with Leah. And we have great communication with her. We know her. We've always got our fingers on her pulse, so we kind of know when she's up. We know when she's down, and we just can tell what she needed, and she got it in the fight and was able to get a decision win.
Yeah, definitely. It was a big win for her. I mean, looking back at the fight, what do you think of the strategy that Jujlia was using, and how do you feel like Leah was able to counter it? I mean, it seemed like, you know, at one point she was stuck in a really tight guillotine choke. She managed to escape, and just, you know, that's credit to her, of course, all the hard work she's been doing with you guys.
Yeah, Jujlia had done something I noticed mid-fight was that Jujlia had timed Leah's kicks really well. She was crowding Leah and countering with a cross every time Leah would throw a kick. So she did a really good job. We knew she was tough. We knew she was like a submission specialist. And Leah can kind of do everything. She can strike, she can wrestle. She's a jiu-jitsu purple belt, a good one. So I wasn't really worried if we could have done a jiu-jitsu match, and I wasn't super worried about it. But Leah was really focused on fight IQ. She knew if she was in a striking fight, she was confident she was going to win, and she did. And everyone thought she had won the first 2 rounds, except, well, I guess one judge didn't, but
right.
Everyone else thought she first 2 rounds, and she gets in there in the third. It's a good exciting round. Jujlia gets a takedown. Leah gets right back up, but leaves her neck hanging out. Jujlia jumps to that guillotine, and I kind of thought I saw a grimace on Leah's face. I thought maybe it was close too, and she got right into her guillotine defense. It's something we worked on a lot, and it was kind of funny. All that blood's trickling down her face, and she's giving the ref a thumbs up, like, I'm good. And the crowd erupted the crowd got excited when Jujlia grabbed the guillotine, because the crowd likes a comeback story.
Right.
And, the crowd kind of thought like Leah was probably winning. Jujlia grabs that guillotine, and they're like, whoa. And then when Leah, all bloody Leah up on the big screen, gives the thumbs up, they erupted again because they thought that was pretty cool. And, it was, I thought it was a really exciting fight. I hope Jujlia gets another UFC fight. I don't know how they're going to decide to do the division, but she was exciting, and I thought she put on a good show, and we were, everything could always go better, but we were happy with the way the fight went.
Definitely, and moving forward, I mean, Leah is signed to the UFC, was part of the Ultimate Fighter, and why did you guys think that Ultimate Fighter would be the best way for her to go? Because, she was already signed, she wasn't fighting, per se, for the Ultimate Fighter contract. What was the thought process behind that? Put her on the show.
Well, so it was Leah's decision, but we're all kind of like her advisory staff, and everyone's initial reaction to the Ultimate Fighter offer was no. She's already in. We don't need to do that. But once we sat down and kind of talked about it, it just felt like, first of all, she'd had that long deployment with the military. She hadn't fought since the Invicta fight against Liz Phillips, where she knocked Liz Phillips out. It had been like a year and a half since she had fought. She was going to fight Yana Kunitskaya in March. Yana gets bumped up to the Cyborg fight. Leah's kind of left in limbo. So we said, hey, this is like a 6-week training camp. You get to go train with some elite girls, some elite coaches. You get to go have a couple of practice fights.
Right.
And then you get to make a UFC debut without any ring rust. And the UFC is going to spend a whole bunch of money to market you and build you up a little bit. So, you know, once we started weighing out pros and cons, it was all win and no really risk. There was no risk to go out on the show.
Right.
And then, so we advised her, we kind of gave her what our thoughts were, and Leah made the decision where she thought like that would be a good way to get a jump on her UFC career. And I think she was right. I think she did a good job on the show. I thought that the show did a good job for her. She did get to go knock that ring rust off. She had the win over Bea, and then a good tough fight with Macy. And then we go out for the finale, and sure enough, it's not, you know, she had no ring rust, there was no freeze, and she had a good exciting fight with Jujlia.
Definitely. And I mean, that, of course, she was very upset after the fight, the loss to Macy. So this was able to reassure her, hey, you are in the UFC. This is where you belong. I know I had a little bit of doubt of that. It was on the show, obviously. But, you know, since then, she's been able to have confidence in herself. This is where she is.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is Leah and then us coaches, we knew months ago that she had lost that fight.
Of course.
You know, so we go through this mourning and kind of grieving process with her, which we do with all our fighters when they lose. But that was months ago. We were kind of over it. We're out there in Vegas for fight week getting ready for Jujlia when the episode airs.
Right.
So everyone watching and 99.9% of the world thinks like Leah just lost, just had this emotional moment, was just like heartbroken about not winning the show. And then she's got to turn around and go out to the TUF to her first UFC fight. And yeah, that's the way it played out on TV, but like she wasn't in that bad spot anymore. You know, we had overcome that and we had gotten ready for this Jujlia fight. And, you know, there was no, it was like losing any other fight for any of our other people that they really invest themselves in. It hurts.
Of course.
You're sad about it. And then you get back on the horse and you get working and you get ready for your next opportunity. And that's what she had done. And then it's just interesting that with the way TV works, to the world, it felt like she had lost a big fight and had this emotional moment, and then immediately turned around and won her UFC debut. But you know, the reality is that's kind of TV, and it's not exactly how it worked out.
Of course not. Yeah, I mean, it's like a movie. You know, obviously we got to see, you know, the main character, he gets lost, and then 20 minutes later he's back in the main event with a guy. You know, something similar to that, right? You know, like Creed 2 and stuff like that. You know.
Yep.
Yeah. Just this hot little bit of magic makes the story go along better.
Yeah, it does play for a better story that way.
Yeah, for sure. And for Leah now, she has the opportunity to fight at women's featherweight. This division is not deep at all. I don't know how many they're going to sign from the show. And she expressed the opportunity to fight at bantamweight. So what do you think is next for her, in your opinion? I mean, obviously whatever the UFC offers, but you think that there's an opportunity for her to go down to bantamweight at this time?
We're pretty comfortable with her as a featherweight. She's very long. It's really hard. She's got a good, exciting striking style. And if you look at where the most eyeballs are on the men's divisions, it's the bigger divisions where knockouts and knockdowns happen and people hurt. And I think it's going to play out the same way for women. I think the smaller divisions will have the good, technical, exciting fights. The bigger divisions will have the big knockouts and the big knockdowns. And as long as Leah is having success in that division, and as long as the UFC likes her there, that's what we'll do. Okay. Now, that being said, when you are building a body to fight in a certain division, and then you decide you want to go down a division, that takes some time. If the UFC came to us and said we prefer her at bantamweight, we'll spend some time changing her body a little bit. But that's, you know, it's the difference between she could take a short notice fight at featherweight, or we'd need some time to get her ready for bantamweight. Right. We're pretty comfortable with her going and climbing that featherweight mountain and conquering it eventually. And bantamweight's sort of out there if we ever feel like we want to go do it, but it's not like we're going to bounce back and forth. I
got you. And who do you feel is going to win against Nunes and Cyborg when they face off? Do you have an opinion on that one?
I think it's the toughest fight Cyborg's ever had. I have a super high opinion of Amanda Nunes. I think Nunes is going to win. That's what I think will happen.
Really? How do you feel it's
Yep.
going to play out?
I don't think Cyborg. There's a mental place that you go when you're in a war, and she hasn't been there in years.
Okay.
And I think Nunes is going to take her there. And then to me, it's a coin flip, like who's right and who's wrong. And this is why you have a job, is because people like talking about it.
Yes.
I think Nunes is ready to go there, and I think it's been so long for Cyborg that she'll have like a moment of shock of like, wow, I'm really in a fight, and she hasn't been in a long time. So I'm picking Nunes, but I'm not going to bet my mortgage payment on it.
Right, I got you. Talk about also Montel Jackson. We got him versus Brian Kelleher. The fight was originally supposed to happen in MSG. Of course, that was very disappointing because mere hours, you had to stop and tell him. You recounted to me, you had to stop and tell him he was on the fighter bus right over to the arena. And, all that aside, now we get to see this fight happen. How do you feel Montel's going to do? And, I mean, nothing's going to change, obviously, just because a couple months later. But how do you see the fight playing out?
Keller's a good, experienced guy. He's got some good wins. That win over Renan Barao was really impressive.
Right.
But I think Montel's a different breed of bantamweight, not just in Kelleher, but than most of the guys in the division. And the same thing we had prepared for the first fight, we're doing the same kind of stuff for this. It's not like we learned anything new.
Yeah.
Just because we got to see him in person. So I think we're going to go out there, and I think this is going to be a marquee welcome to the division win for Montel. And I think people are going to they're going to pay attention to him after this fight.
Definitely. I mean, if he gets that opportunity, big win, of course, a big card end of the year as well in Vegas, it's going to be huge for him. And the way he moves, he strikes, people are going to be fans of him. You think so?
Yeah, people. So this is the trap a lot of these young fighters will fall into. They think like, I need to be Conor McGregor. I need to talk trash, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. And the reality is, it doesn't matter as much how people tune in to watch violence. So Mike Tyson was a little crazy, but you didn't know if he was going to bite someone's ear off, knock him out. Eat the guy's children. That's why you watch.
Right.
Because not only was he knocking people out, not only was he a little crazy, he was knocking people out. He was terrifying. Yeah. Anderson Silva is not a big trash talker, but for the longest time, he was must-see TV because he was going to do something crazy and cause some he was going to make violence happen. And Montel's got that. He hits so hard, and he elbows so hard, and he knees so hard, and he knocks people out, and it hurts. And people are going to like him because he's violent. So he's got a message, he's got a character, he's got a personality, and that stuff will come out the more cameras are on him. They'll get to see how funny of a guy he is and how his personality kind of comes through. But people pay attention to violent fighters, and that's Montel.
Sure. And he's got also really big hands for a guy his size as well. I've noticed that.
Yeah. Even working with him, like some of the different techniques we do, I got to tell him like, hey man, you need to let me go so we can work on this thing, because he can just grab onto you and like now I got to wait till Montel decides to let me go before we can do anything else. He's got giant hands and grip strength. It's not just big hands. They're like vices.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's insane. We're looking forward to that fight. It's going to be a great time, of course, for you guys to go out there and hopefully end with a trio of wins on that level of the UFC. And then, of course, Alton Cunnigham as well, getting a big win.
Yep, it'd be great to end the year with a bunch of big wins, UFC wins. I want Alton to win tonight. We've got some other guys with big fights coming up that I'm excited about. And, 2019 should be a good year for us. We've got another wave of fighters that are ready to jump up on this national stage. And,
for sure.
Keep cranking them out.
Yeah. And then I want to ask you about the Pure FC. We're going to see that come back as well. You guys are definitely a good job promoting with Pure FC. By the way, I like the whole Dark Knight Rises. I know that was your idea. The Magic Mike. imagery or whatever. That was fun though. I mean, a lot of people are gonna pay attention to that and like it. So I'm excited to come out and cover the next PUFC. I had a lot of fun at the last event.
Yeah, we plan to be January 25th up in Oshkosh. It should be a good time.
And any fighters we should pay attention to coming out.
Yes.
Jose Osborne is on a roll lately. He's looking really good. I mean, Tim Hiley, of course, he had a tough loss prior for the middleweight title in LFA, but he's going to look to come back as well.
Yeah, O'Day's another exciting bantamweight that we're going to have ready for a big fight soon. Tim lost that LFA title fight. Just had a little injury in the gym. He's going to have to recover from, but he'll be right back in the mix soon. Alton's got his big fight tonight. Jonas Flock is another guy. He just won a kickboxing fight. He's 10-3. He came to the gym 3-3. He's 10-3 now. We have him booked against Kurt Kinzer, who's 9-1.
Okay.
And that's it's not going to be until March, but that's a big fight for Jonas that we're excited about. Chico Camus is on the team now. He had a big win over Matt Brown a month or two ago. So we've got some guys coming up that we're going to be paying attention to.
Yeah, excited for that as well. And for Tim Hiley, yeah, that injury looked really gruesome. Is that something that just looked a lot worse than it was?
No, it was that bad.
It was really that bad. Okay, so it was a complete.
He dislocated his ankle and broke his femur. So he's going to call me today and let me know if they want to do surgery. But it is bad. But at the same time, the recovery on that is only a couple months. It's not like an ACL tear where you're out for almost a year. I've actually done something like that to my elbow where I dislocated and broke it. So it was a painful injury, but he's in recovery mode. He's surrounded by people that love him and are taking care of him. And he'll be back not a year from now, in a couple months. I think it's like 10 or 11 weeks before he can come out and actually do a little bit of moving around and athletic movement kind of stuff. So it won't be yeah, by summer he'll be back in the mix.
All right. Best wishes to him, of course. And man, what you guys do for a living, it's insane. I mean, just practicing, that's crazy that can happen.
Yeah.
Just in training. Wow. So
part of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And then my next question is, let's go back to May when Nunes fought Pennington, and Pennington's corner told her, well, Pennington wanted out of the fight. Obviously, she said, I've had enough. Her corner said, let's keep going. We'll recover later. Put yourself in those shoes. What would you have done?
So a big part of being a corner is knowing your fighter. And then there's two-way trust. Like, I have to trust my fighter, and then my fighter's got to trust me to make calls. So all fighters have moments of weakness. Sometimes it comes out during a fight. Sometimes it's in training. Sometimes it's in the locker room. Everyone, because they're human beings, and human beings are strong and weak. Sometimes during a fight, I'll catch some of that weakness coming from a fighter. And if I don't think their long-term mental health is at risk, if that makes sense,
right?
Then they trust me to relight that fire and keep them going. But if there's no path to a victory and they're taking lifelong damage, then they also trust me to stop a fight.
Right.
What was the right call in that fight? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't, Raquel, I'm not her coach. But I have had fighters that wanted out, that I talked into continuing, and it was the right call. They thanked me afterwards.
Okay.
And then also had fighters that I've had to throw the towel in for because, especially brain trauma, I want all my fighters to be able to have coherent conversations with their grandkids. Like, that's not only do I want them to be successful, I want them to keep their brain health. You can break a hand and have a hard time gripping a pencil for the rest of your life, and we can still go out there and win a fight. But if you're taking brain trauma for no reason, then you can count on me to go in there and throw the towel. So I don't know what the right answer was for that fight. But I can tell you that it's a complex situation that, everyone's got to face it at some point. Should I stop this fight or shouldn't I? And you hope you make the right call. I hope that was the right call. If they had let her, here's another thing. She wanted out. If they had let that fight end, maybe it ruins her confidence for the rest of her career.
Okay.
Maybe now she thinks like, I'm no longer on that level. Maybe it breaks her confidence forever.
Right.
Or maybe they save her from taking more damage if she does stop the fight. So I get both sides of it, because she was kind of taking a thumping. So yeah, I mean, if it's, you know, a guy comes to the corner and says, I had an amateur fighter that came to the corner after the first round and said, I broke my hand. And I said, no, shut up about that. Here's how we're going to go in. And he did. He went out and won. He kicked the guy's butt for the fight, and with one hand choked him out in the third round. So then I've seen you know, Paul Felder broke his arm in a fight and went out and put on an awesome performance. So there's taking injuries that you can fight through, and then there's you're taking a beating for no reason, and you stop the fight. And it's trust and communication between a coach and a corner.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Well, I want to thank you again, Jake, taking time to be on the Fight Report. Hopefully we'll have you back on again, and best of luck tonight. Everybody check it out. LFA 56 is going to be a huge card. Of course, Alton Cunnigham is on the card for you guys. And UFC Fight Night, Milwaukee. Well, can you tell us about that new arena, man? I know you and Zach got to see it, so what was your opinion of that? And what can we expect Saturday? Yeah.
Beautiful. I've been to a couple of the Bucks games there, too. I'm a big Milwaukee Bucks fan.
Okay.
The sight lines from all the seats are great. So if people are thinking of going to the show, the nosebleeds are not nosebleeds. You'll have a good view. The food's really good. The layout is really nice. The seats are comfortable. I love it. I love that we have this nice new arena. And then it's really cool that the industry I'm in, like, I get to go perform. I'm not performing, but I kind of am, coach. Yeah. But like my team gets to go perform in this brand new Milwaukee showpiece. Like, we have a nice shiny new arena and we get to go fight in it. So cool. Very excited. People should definitely come check it out.
And hopefully repeatedly times too. Hopefully UFC comes back again and more fighters from Pura Vida get the opportunity to show what they got.
Yeah, it's been 5 years since the UFC was in Milwaukee. I don't want them to wait 5 years again. I want everyone to go put on a good show. I want the crowd to show up and have a good time. And hopefully we can make this an annual thing where the UFC comes back all the time.
Definitely. Hopefully a big pay-per-view as well, or ESPN. That'd be
awesome.
That'd be awesome as well. Well, Jake, again, best of luck to you. I had a great time talking with you, and everybody check out tonight LFA 56, of course, Alton Cunnigham on the card. And if you guys want to go train with the elite Pura Vida BJJ, if you're in Milwaukee area, they'll be happy to set you up, right? I know you guys do a lot of training, a lot of classes.
Come on in. Come get some work.
Excellent. I'll come back. I'll come by one time as well, for sure.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, Jake, take care. Best of luck. My best to Alton and everyone there.
Thanks, brother. See you later.
Well, you too. Bye.